Let's talk about a way to tailor the pair of pants so that they have a slightly bigger waistband. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and sometimes you have a pair of pants that you love the way they fit everywhere else, but the waistband is just a little too tight. And that's what's happening with these pair of pants right here. So the waistband is actually this like elastic, and the rest of these pants are very loose fitting, but the waistband's just maybe about an inch or two too tight. So I'm going to be showing you a way that you could extend this, and then you could apply this to your own pair of pants if you were in a similar situation. So what I've done here is just flip my pants over. So this is the back of the pants. I'm going to be adding space into the back. So I'm going to find the exact center back and then measure about 4 inches out from the side and then mark that, and then 4 inches out from the other side. This way, where we're adding those little extra pieces is going to be exactly symmetrical along the back of the pants. So you can see I've just marked here. Eventually I'm going to be cutting that just to kind of open it up. So now I need to make a pattern piece so I know how big of a piece of fabric to cut out for this. So I want to add about an inch, so I'm going to be cutting this out to be an inch and a half on the top, and then I'm going to be just doing the length down for what that piece of elastic is. So mine's 2 inches, so I'm going to be adding a 1/4 inch seam allowance to all of this, and that's how I cut out my pattern piece. So basically I've just made this little pizza slice, if you will, or this triangle, and that is going to be the size of the fabric I cut out for either of those wedges. Now for the fabric itself, I'm going to be using this rib knit. If you had like a knit elastic, you could definitely use that instead, but this rib knit is going to work really nicely. Now you're going to want 2 pieces of the rib knit for each of your pieces that you're going to be cutting out. So technically I'm going to have 4 of these. And just to kind of show you what this will look like kind of conceptually, basically we're just going to be adding this in so that you're just going to have a little bit more space at the top. So once you have all 4 of your fabric slices cut out, I'm just going to cut into my waistband here. So you can see when I pull this over, I can kind of make it go into a triangle, and then I can just add in my little slice, and then I'm going to be repeating this on the other side. So just extending this ever so slightly, and then I would just be putting the slice in there. So now I'm going to go over to my serger, and I have 2 of those pieces with right sides together, and I'm just serging along that top edge. And then I'm just going to repeat that for the second slice. So here's what it looks like. Now I'm just going to flip this so that the wrong sides are together. And as you can see, I have this nice little triangle, and then I'm just going to serge up the other 2 edges. So basically just making this look nice and neat. Now I'm also going to serge up the edges on the pants for where we cut into it, just to also make sure this is nice and neat and I don't have to worry about it fraying at any point in time. So now that everything has been serged, so I have the waistband all serged up, and then I have my little triangle slice that I'm going to be adding into the waistband to make it larger. I'm now just going to pin all of this in place. So I'm going to pin with right sides together, one of those triangle edges with the waistband edge. And then we're just going to be taking a seam directly down to sew that into place. Now on my sewing machine, there are a couple items that you want to change. First, you want to use a ballpoint needle. I really like these titanium ballpoint needles. I find they work really nicely. Then I'm going to be using a walking foot. So this is going to help because we have a lot of slippery as well as stretchy fabrics. And then I am using a lightning stitch. So this is going to make sure that if our pants are ever stretching, the stitch won't kind of come undone and pop. And then I'm just going to sew my first little stitch into place for that slice, and then I will repeat this for the second side. So once I get this one done, you can see that this is what it looks like. So when I open it up, it looks really neat, looks really clean. And then I'm just going to be matching with right sides together the second portion of the slice with the rest of the waistband. And then when you open it up, you have a triangle now, which is exactly what we want. And then I'm just going to be sewing that into place too. And then repeat all of those exact same steps for the second slice so that you have both sides of your waistband have that little triangle portion attached. And then once you do that, it's basically done. So this little tailoring is now complete. You can see we have these 2 sort of black triangles. They're nicely centered in the back of our waistband. It just gives the waistband a little bit more stretch and room. So if you just needed the pants to be slightly bigger, this is a great way to do it. Basically, I've added 2 more inches to the waistband itself. So this isn't really an alteration for making big changes, but just if you wanted to add a little bit more room to your waistband, this is a great way to go about it. it. I will have all these steps also written in a blog post in case you're interested, and that link is below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next.